Hello! You know those rare moments where you stumble on something that feels like it's tailor-made for you? Like finding that perfect sweater or stumbling on music that slaps? Well, for me, that feeling came when I discovered a little indie game called Dave the Diver. And today I want to tell you why it's the best indie game that I've played so far. Let's get to it. Dave the Diver, a game released in 2023 by developer and publisher Mint Rocket. The typical example of one of those games that sneak up on you. At first glance, it's a quirky mix of genres, part underwater exploration, part restaurant management, part farming simulator, but beneath the surface, it's so much more than that. First, let's start with the story. It's relatively simple. You play as Dave, a lovable, slightly out of shape diver who gets roped into helping run a sushi bar by night and exploring the depths of the mysterious blue hole by day. The game is divided into 3 parts that make up a day cycle: mornings, afternoons, and evenings. You dive in the mornings and afternoons and run the sushi restaurant by night, although you can also choose to close the restaurant for a night if you want to dive instead to try to find some rarer night fish. Now let's talk some more about the core of the gameplay, the diving/exploration aspect of the game. The blue hole is more than just a standard underwater map, because every time you dive, the environment changes, and the game makes sure to let you know of that through the conversations you will have with NPCs. This might be trivial, but I thought it was great. Changing the layout of the ocean is a rather simple game mechanic to keep the diving experience fresh for the player, but the fact that NPCs also notice it contribute to the immersion. It's like the blue hole is a real place in the real world full of mystery. In that sense, there's always a relative sense of exploring the unknown. But as you play the game more and more, you start seeing and spotting the similarities between each depth level that you dive. And like I mentioned earlier, there's the dual gameplay. The game manages to strike a perfect balance between those 2 mechanics. Poor Dave. I mean, everyone abuses him by asking him to go on fetch missions or being a manager. Between getting eaten by sharks, managing a sushi bar, and running a farm, Dave's really just living every millennial's dream, working 3 jobs and still being broke. This comment does not represent my views on society or capitalism. That being said, the sushi bar gameplay is oddly addictive. It's not just about preparing dishes, it's about creating an experience for customers. Every decision matters, from choosing the right amount of ingredients you'll be using for the menu, hiring the right staff, and catering to specific events like this curry event, for example, where customers will get mad if you don't have any curry dishes to offer them. But what really makes Dave the Diver shine is its heart. The characters you meet are well written and memorable. Bancho, the enigmatic sushi chef, has this aura of mystery that slowly unravels. Then there's Cobra, who always has like a shady deal going on. Even the NPCs, the customers, feel alive with their quirks and unique interactions. And these moments of connections aren't just fluff, they're what elevate the game from being simply fun to full of character. You're not just playing the game, you're slowly becoming invested and a part of this world. And speaking of unforgettable, you guys know how much I'm a sucker for a good soundtrack. And even if the music of the game isn't particularly epic or catchy, I think that each track fits perfectly to the mood. It's the kind of music that sets the vibe of all the environments you're in, which in turn contributes to the experience being really fun for the player. But what sets Dave the Diver apart is its attention to detail. The developers didn't just make a game, they created an experience. From the way the ocean shifts each dive to the little animations of customers enjoying their sushi, it's clear that this was a labor of love. For me, playing Dave the Diver was more than just a gaming experience. It changed the way I see indie games. Before this, I had a pretty standard view of indie games. Small teams, lower budget, and often quirky or experimental concepts. But Dave the Diver really blew away those preconceived notions that I had. It showed me that an indie game can be just as polished, ambitious, and impactful as a big budget title. This game taught me that indie developers don't just work within their limitations, they use them to their advantage. This pixelated look is a perfect example. It's the best aesthetic for Dave the Diver. The game takes what could have been a simple niche idea and expanded it into something memorable. In other words, this game serves as a reminder that passion and creativity can surpass even the deepest pockets. Wow. That's pretty deep. After playing Dave the Diver, I started looking at indie games very differently. I realized how much heart and innovation goes into these projects. It's not just about being small or different, it's about telling unique stories and creating experiences that stay with the player. To me, it wasn't just a gaming experience. It came at a time in my life where I needed something lighthearted but meaningful. It reminded me that games can be more than just entertainment. They can be art, they can be therapy. And that's a recurring theme in a lot of my videos. I consider games to really be art. And for Dave the Diver, it's rare to find a game that can make you laugh and keep you on the edge of your seat at the same time, and even tug at your heartstrings. But Dave the Diver does it all, and it does it with a charm that's impossible to resist, especially for me as I'm a huge scuba diver and a fan of the ocean. If you like scuba diving and you're a big fan of the ocean, this is the perfect game for you. It really was for me. As well, the developers are consistently adding content to the game, like a pretty epic Godzilla DLC where you get to have a kaiju fight while controlling Godzilla. To conclude, Dave the Diver reminded me of why I love games in the first place. It's about the stories, the characters, and the moments that stay with you long after you finish the game. I was genuinely sad when it ended because I just really wanted more. And isn't that what we're all looking for? An experience that lingers, that inspires, and that has us asking for more, and that reminds us why we fell in love with games in the first place. If you haven't played it yet, do yourself a favor and dive in. And if you have played it, let me know in the comments what was your favorite part. Until next time, keep playing, keep exploring, and keep finding those hidden gems. Peace! The fuck?